Hello and welcome to Arizona ALFA's Legislative Updates. Today is Friday, February 2nd, and I'm Karen Barner, your host. We have a few things to cover today. Things are moving, but let me first let you know, please stay till the end because I am going to give some DHS updates. To catch up on our calendar, on March 19th, for the first time ever, we're going to be doing lobbying days. Arizona ALFA, Arizona's Leading Age, and Arizona Healthcare Association are joining together to go down to the legislature to show them what is the face of assisted living. Who cares for these residents? So please come down. We'll set you up with appointments with your legislators. You can walk around. You can see where everything's done, watching the bills and see what hearings. I believe this date is Senate Health, I believe, is on this date, so you'll be able to watch Senate Health. So Leading Age is the one doing the registration for us. Thank you, Leading Age. And I'll put a link in the show notes so you can get registered. On March 5th is our happy hour at the Keg in Tempe Marketplace. That'll be a lot of fun. April 17th and 18th is Emerging Leaders. That'll be at Arizona ALFA HQ. If you have an interest in becoming an executive director, or you're an ED now for a year or two, this is a great class to attend. It's taught by some great industry experts. We have Scott McCutcheon talking about culture. We have Eve Nettles talking about nursing. We have, Scott McCutcheon talking about financials, and Tiffany Wilkins talking about culture. This is really a good meeting to be at. It's a day and a half, and you'll walk away with a lot of great information. In fact, we have a student from last class who is now the secretary of the Public Policy Committee. So that's very, very exciting. Okay, let's get talking about some bills. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you're interested in participating in public policy, it is online, which means we do it through Zoom. We meet every Thursday at 10 a.m. to discuss all the bills and what's going on. So it really gets you involved in the process. This is your industry. We are at a pivotal turning point right now for assisted living. When they had the Senate hearing on aging, and I heard somebody say, well, it was about 25 years when we started regulating nursing homes. Well, that doesn't mean you need to regulate assisted living, because you basically regulated them out of business. So why don't you let the states do their state stuff? Everybody's been doing a great job. Arizona does a phenomenal job. So we have some challenges right now. Nothing that can't be fixed. Nothing that, may not be some misunderstandings. We can always, if we work together with the consumer groups, we can always come to a great alternative. That's how assisted living started. We sat down with all the different groups. We sat down with AARP, the Alzheimer's, all of them back then, and said, how do we build assisted living? And we did it together. For some reason now they all want to do it in their own silo, and they don't want to come over and talk to us and say, what's best for the residents? Because that's all any of us care about, what's best for our residents. So I invite the consumer groups, let's put a stakeholder committee together, and let's do this together, because the best work we're going to get is when we have all of our minds put together and we figure this out. Okay, that's my little talking points for the day. Okay. Senate Bill 2227, staffing ratios is not moving. That's by Representative Longden. I said at the last meeting that she resigned, so her bills are just kind of sitting there. This week, Representative Sun resigned due to she had some ethic violation charges against her, so she resigned. And Representative Amish Shah resigned. He's going to run the challenge Swikert's seat, so he resigned to run. A lot of stuff going on down here. It's crazy. Okay, House Bill 2587. That is a Representative Dunn bill. It's a governor's bill, and it talks about civil money penalties. That can be more than $500. So, if you are, have to pay a civil money penalty at this point, it can be more. And it also prevents people from harassing whistleblowers, which I kind of thought was already in the law. So we're monitoring that closely. Senate Bill 1086, this is the Referral Agent bill. This is the one where no one should be allowed to own your name. If you go online at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon because you're dealing with your loved one, with your mother, and you see a really cool pamphlet that, how to understand the different pieces of long-term care, and you download that, whatever group sponsored that pamphlet now owns your name for a year. Now this has evolved. For a couple years ago it was for years, then it was down to 3 years. Now then a couple years ago they made it 1 year. No one should be allowed to own your name. It is not good business practice to have a pamphlet that you own the name, and then the referral agent actually puts the resident, the family member in the car, drives them around, helps them find the perfect place, and the community can't pay them because the community has to pay the pamphlet people. I'm just not sure I understand how that could be correct. So that bill was heard. Senator Shope heard it. It passed unanimously out of the Senate Health, and so it's on its way to the next level. So fingers crossed for that one. And pastors did a great job, and actually Tiffany Wright testified, and she did a phenomenal job. Senate Bill 1254, the NCAA board continuation to July 2032, has not moved yet, but a lot of bills, like I said earlier, aren't moving. It's kind of how this works. It kind of moves slow, and then all of a sudden there's a flurry of bills, and it slows down. So that's why we have to stay on our toes, and that's why we all have really good lobbyists. House Bill 2505 is the assisted living escrow account. This is where they want to amend how refunds are done in the CCRG environment. We oppose this bill. This stuff has been taken care of in contracts. When residents move into CCRCs, this is all explained. So we are just keeping an eye on that one. A couple more with Longden, which, like I said, we're not watching closely. House Bill 2315, ownership of assisted living communities. This is by Representative Contreras. We've talked about this last week, that you can't sell your community if you have any fines against your enforcement action. And our response back to Representative Contreras is, it's hard to sell a center. You're not going to see one of them sell overnight. They have banking, they have rules, they have so much they have to get through. So that has not moved, and hopefully it won't. House Bill 2317 is a victory for us. This is the AED bill, where they want to put AEDs within all the continuing care communities. It wasn't AL, it was continuing care. It did not make it out of committee. It could come back, but I don't know. I mean, they had a lot of good points. One AED in a whole community is not going to do it. AEDs are not as easy to use as people think they are. If English isn't your first language, you're going to struggle with it. A resident pulls an AED down off the wall, they could get hurt. So we'll see how that continues. Okay, House Bill 2653. This is Wynn's bill. This is one we're really paying close attention to. I mean, we're paying attention to a lot. But this one, besides asking providers to check the APS registry before they hire somebody, we're fine with that. It's a phone call for the adult, for the APS, we're good with that. They want to put cameras, if the families want to put cameras into their apartments. There's some privacy issues that are running with this bill that we're watching closely. They want cameras in the general areas, the lobby. What happens if your loved one moves in and they don't want to be on camera? We've had where families have tried to track down their mother and they can't find them, and they'll call these communities and say, where's mom? And mom doesn't want them to find them. Now, if we have cameras, they may very well be able to hack into these, because that's the other concern, is hacking into these systems. So we have a lot of concerns with this bill. It hasn't moved yet. We're still working with the sponsor, so we'll see where this bill ends up. So let me just go through, make sure I touched all the O, and I did not hit. The Alzheimer's Association, their memory care bill has not been filed yet. Like I said, there's still a couple more days to file these bills, and they can also put them on to the striker line. This is one where they're talking about having an acuity-based staffing tool. They're talking about minimum training standards, which we support. We believe you can never have enough training. So we totally support that part of it. They want to have disclosures. That's one where they want, to tell you how your home's decorated and all that other good stuff. So we are keeping an eye on this bill. We're waiting for it to drop, meaning get filed, don't drop. Waiting for it to get filed. So once that gets filed, we'll know more. It's just there's been a lot of stakeholders, committees. We've talked about doing a scope and severity tool, which I think we talked about last week, where it has blocks. And if you're familiar with the nursing homes, which I'm not, but if you're familiar with the nursing homes, they have it in each block, depending on where the deficiency. So if you got a deficiency for missing fingerprint, that might be down at this block, which, okay, it's going to be a $500 fine and that's it. But if you had 20 missing fingerprints, your scope and severity might be up here, and it could be immediate jeopardy. So we're working together on that. A lot of the providers I've talked to, they kind of like the idea of knowing that when DHS leaves your community and they tell you what's wrong, you kind of know where you're falling on the scope and severity. It does take away the ebb and flow of where everything sits when it comes to your survey and the surveyor. It does kind of take out the gray. Now, although I'm comfortable with the gray areas, I am finding providers aren't as comfortable as I am with the gray area. So we're working to have that taken care of. So to do a little bit of DHS updates, we are finding that fingerprinting and first aid are becoming easy sites and taking to enforcement. It's easy for providers to not keep that in laser focused. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. You have to make sure all your fingerprints are up to date. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've received in this past month. Well, in January, I can actually tell you if you want to know. I've had 5 where they were missing one fingerprint. That's it. One fingerprint card, and now you're off to the races. Now you're down with DHS and enforcement. Now you're in front of the NCAA board. Same with first aid. Have a system where you know if somebody's expired, so you can get a new system. You can get the new card, or you can update the first aid. Have a checks and balance. And that's what I found. People are like, well, no, we just kind of check it. We know our survey's coming. That isn't working, folks. It seems like that system is breaking down. So I can't tell you. And if any of you guys have a good system on how you keep track of your first aid and your fingerprinting, please let me know so I can share it with everybody else. Because this is just getting to an alarming rate. And I don't want to see you down in front of the NCAA board because of a missing fingerprint or missing first aid. So please keep your eye on that. And if you get called in front of the NCAA board, give me a call. I'll explain the process. If you want me to come with you, I'd be happy to go with you. The only thing is, as the NCAA board, because they're sending so many people over to enforcement, that sometimes you can sit there all day and not be heard and have to come back. The other thing is, NCAA board will reach out to you. You'll have 2 touches with them. You'll have the first touch when they're doing the investigation, and the second touch is the hearing. I can't tell you the other thing of how many people I've heard that said, well, I didn't pay attention to the first the first time when they called or sent me the letter saying that they're investigating me. I was like, oh, I didn't pay attention. Well, that was your opportunity to take action. That was your opportunity to go down there and say, hey, while you guys are investigating, let me tell my side of the story. Because too many of you are waiting till everything's done and the investigator has submitted their paperwork and the board's working off of that. Now you're going to tell your story. You got to get in there and tell your story early and often. Because the NCAA board, the last thing you want to do is lose your license over a fingerprint or over, first aid. The last thing you want to do is have anything bad on your record that we could have avoided. So, like I said, if any of you guys have a good system, please let me know. We have Bonnie Wood doing a lot of research for us. Thank you so much, Bonnie. So we're kind of also tracking how much the fines are, how many people are going to enforcement over the past couple years. So we are keeping an eye on that as well. If you have any questions, please let me know. That's it. have a great rest of the week, or I guess this is Friday, so have a great Friday. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything, you guys, please let us know. That's why we're here, to answer your questions. Don't call us after, what is it, after the genie's out of the bottle? I don't know, one of those sayings, you know, after everything's blown up and your building's on fire, then don't call us. Call us, you know, when you kind of think, we might need some help. This is why we're here, you guys. We're here to advise you. We're here to be the voice. If you don't want to call DHS, we'll call DHS for you and make sure that we don't give up enough information that they know who we're calling about. We're kind of like your line of defense between the two of them. Okay, so I hope this helped. Have a great day and have an enjoyable weekend. Bye-bye.